as a community, they have different needs. Not one size fit all.
That's right.
But different stroke for different folks.
Hi everybody, once again, welcome to our first StreamYard of the year with Dr. Ang Hak Sing. Woohoo! This is Little Stories, Big Impact, and I'm so privileged to have such a distinguished guest with us today. Dr. Ang has had an illustrious career in the public sector, and I'm sure he has a wealth of knowledge and experience to share with us today. So everybody, join me in welcoming Dr. Ang. Hi! Hi, Dr. Ang. Are you able to just share a little bit more about yourself so that those who are watching can also get a background on who you are?
Thank you, sister. Thank you for inviting me to share a little bit about myself and my stories. I think the best way to understand me is to go back in history. And that is to once upon a time when I was 15 years old. Yeah, go that way back, I think like many families in my generations, we come from a family whereby there are difficult times. And my father ran a coffee store. And at the age of 15, I am rotated, even though I studied in secondary school, I'm rotated on an 8-hour shift, like all my brothers and sisters, to work in the coffee store. And this is where I really understand what community is all about. Because as a coffee boy, taking orders and then delivering the drinks to the table, you always have the opportunity to have small talks with your customers. And many of them are uncle and auntie from all walks of life and all segments of society. And through the interaction with them, I learned 3 things that later shaped my passions for the community. And first is that, as a community, they have different needs. Not one size fit all.
That's right.
But different stroke for different folks. The second things that I learned, of course, is about communication. In the coffee shops, you don't speak clean English. For that matters, not even Mandarin, What you speak is dialects. Hokkien, Teochew, Cantonese. And I realized that communication is so important. Yes, throughout these many years in the coffee shops, I do now speak quite a number of dialects. But it's not the dialects that I want to emphasize, but it's the communication, the ability to communicate not to the head, but to the heart. I think that is critical. So that little story of my past then shaped my passions as to what I want to do for my future. And I tell myself that I want to serve the community. So when the opportunity comes, I serve the communities by joining the police force. Some of you may think that, hey, you don't look like policeman, but I want to assure you I'm a policeman for 35 years, And for those of you who know me, who do a background check on me, will realize that I have been around in the police force in almost in many divisions, in many posts. I want to assure you, I solve minor case like, for example, theft, but I also solve kidnapping case. So the I care for the community continue when I'm posted out from the police force to Health Promotion Board. In Health Promotion Board at that time was in 2011, around there. Anyway, so in Health Promotion Board, at that time, the biggest challenge I have is this. Singaporeans know that they need to be healthy. And they know that they need to continue to eat less salt, less sugar, less oil. But they're not doing that. Do you want to know why? This is because many of them think that this is a government problem. So the solution is to bring the problem back to the people. And that's what I did. I then heightened up the I care for the communities by engaging the communities, and I form a ground up movement known as the Health Ambassador. And I tell myself I'm going to raise an army of 10,000 health ambassadors from all walks of life, all segments of societies, all ages, to influence Singaporeans in their healthy lifestyle, in the way they live, work, and play. So I want healthy lifestyle to be pervasive. And of course, from Health Promotion Board, I moved to people associations. And people association, I'm a bit bolder because I mix with a lot of my fellow grassroots leaders. And I decided that it cannot be I care, it should be we care. So in people association, we started the We Care movement. And that, it's so coincident at that time. PSI, at one time Singapore are hit with haze. I'm glad that for the last few years we don't have a haze problem, but during 2014, 2015, we have a big haze problem, I think it's 2014. The haze, the PSI went up as much as 300, which is almost hazardous level. So the We Care movement stepped in and we start distributing masks. So now, distribution of masks actually start way back. And of course, the same muscle of distribution of masks is now used also for COVID-19. Then after that, I moved from People Association to MCCY. And that's why I champion the SG Care movement. And this is where it's not about we, it's not about I, it's not about doing, but more importantly, it's about organizing, designing, catalyzing. So I then move from the positions of an operator to a position of a planner. If you like, you mean to say that my job is to look for opportunities, bring partners together, then allow the partners to take ownership, and so that my time can then move on to another area where we need help. And that's basically SG Care at the ministry is all about. It's about identifying where the opportunity, bring partner together, and allow the partner to take ownership and move on to the next area. So I hope my little story of to know me better is, I hope you know why I'm very passionate about the community.
Yeah, I can totally hear it, and such a privilege to also hear how you develop this love for the community from when you were a young person, 15 years old, starting to really talk to aunties, uncles, hear their dreams and aspirations. And then now as SG Cares also start to work together with organizations to broker partnerships so that we can take ownership for our own dreams, our own ideas, and then, build the future and the Singapore that we want. So really, really wonderful to see this life's work, culminating in the work that you've been doing for the SG Cares movement. I just wanted to ask you, coming in this year, right, 2022, what is your hope for Singapore?
I think to better understand or to articulate my hope for 2022, we need to look at 2021 and 2020. 2021 and 2020 is a very difficult year. It's a very difficult year because of COVID-19. And it has created challenges for our social sectors. Money not enough, because you heard donations has dropped. Volunteer not enough because of the concern both for the beneficiaries and the volunteer themselves in terms of safety, and opportunity not enough. Why I use the word opportunity? Because the safety guidelines require us to change the way we work. And this have limited the amount of opportunity for interactions between the volunteers, between the organizations, and the beneficiaries. I personally see as an opportunity too. The first opportunity is that while, yes, money not enough, but it's also an opportunity to ask ourselves about the sustainability of our operation. Do our operations solely rely on, or do our revenue only depending on fundraising? Or our revenues should be more sustainable beyond fundraising? And if you like, this is what we call a shift from charity to philanthropy. It's a big shift. It's a big shift. I give an example of the shift. People are already thinking, should there be a bond issue for charities? A bond, which means to say that I give you the bond, I lend you the money, you will pay back, so that the money can then be used for others who want to do good. And how do you pay back? Well, there are two ways of paying back. One way of paying back is indeed really pay back in cash. The other way of payback is payback in terms of doing good as a KPIs. And then people will see, based on your doing good, make a donation or make a compensation of it. That is a very interesting way of seeing charities or seeing organizations that are doing good. And we have to start thinking like that. We have to start thinking like that. We cannot always think of the revenue stream is only fundraising. Yes, it still may be the main one, but I think we need to think of sustainability. The second wish for 2022 is digitalizations. For 2020 and 2021, there's no excuse for people who are no longer using computers or using handphone or using apps. In the past, we always heard, uncle and auntie, it's very difficult for them to educate them on using handphone apps. My brother and sisters, today, many of them are using it not only for social, but they're using it for necessity, like what? Ordering food. Really,
Food purchase. Pay, all this, is it?
Oh, yes, indeed. Today,
and
if you don't...
our new vouchers also, the CDC vouchers.
Yes. So now you see, a lot of the self-help schemes are now on the digital platforms. But I can tell you, my uncle and auntie has really lived up to the challenges. But the question is for 2022, how do we leverage on this digital awakening so that now you know that in the past they got no reason to be digital savvy, now they are digital savvy. How can we make use of this awakening, this skill, to deliver more services to them? Good example, who say that mental health, in terms of mental health exercises, cannot be delivered in a digital platform? Of course it can.
Yeah.
Of course it can.
Dr. Ang, I want to interrupt you this time around, right? Because there is actually something that we did at Campus Impact. We did Instagram live sessions this year to promote therapeutic art making, so that exactly what you were saying, mental health delivered online and it's right to the handphones, right? So it's super accessible. Yeah. So
Excellent. It's not only that it's accessible, now you are able to cover the ground very effectively. Because this is what I always say, it's like you do one, use many times. You do once, you impact the many. Not only impact on the few, because with modern technology like using Zoom, you can easily outreach to 1,000.
That's right.
Just like that. And that brings me to the third point, and that is that my third wish for 2022 is that we need to re-examine the way we work. The way we work in the social sectors. not only about using digital to improve effectiveness and efficiency, but also to ask about collaboration, for example. I mean, if you look at the paper and you read the paper today, I mean, there was some talk about changing the law so that more can be done in the area of donation in kind, particularly in the area of food. And you also notice that the charity food bank which have done a lot of good work in making sure that many of the uncle and auntie are not left out because of COVID-19. This will only happen if we start to collaborate with each other. So collaborations become the key. And I always say for we in the people sector, focus on what you do best and you outsource the rest. Outsourcing means you partner with people. And I always believe in 1 + 1 = 11.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, not
I thought you were going to
2
say
or 3,
3.
11. 11.
I like your
11.
maths, Dr. Ang.
Yes, really. It's 11 because of course, synergy.
That's right.
And I always believe that the new method or the new operating process for us in the people sector is also about convenience, and it's also about helping our uncle and auntie, not addressing the symptoms, but solving and helping them at the root cause. I think that's important. Because I can tell you, my uncle and auntie prefer to have dignity than to continue to receive help from you.
That's right.
And to give dignity is really helping at the root cause. So, 3 things for 2022. Number 1, from charity to philanthropy. Number 2, leverage on the digitization wave. And number 3, we need to change our operating model so that we can be better, betterer, betterers. No such English words, but you know the meaning. You know what I mean. This is again something that I pick up as a coffee boy, and there's a better way to communicate to my uncle and auntie, to everybody else. Yes, my sister.
Yeah, I think the pandemic has really brought out this need, to reevaluate and to look at the kind of value that we are really bringing as organizations, right? So what is our core business? What is it that we're really trying to do? Drill down on that, reinforce that, and then really strengthen that and go for that, instead of trying to spread ourselves too thin, trying to do everything when actually there's so much out there already that's being done. And what we can do is really do better by collaborating. So Dr. Ang, I just wanted to reiterate your point on, 1 + 1 = 11. There's a wonderful and beautiful synergy that comes, and we've definitely seen that in the SG Cares volunteer centers. I think the brokering of the partnerships, the bringing of the volunteers, that coming together of the private, the people, and the public sector is just something that's been really miraculous and beautiful for me to watch.